I wanted to thank you each for accepting the invite and giving us an opportunity to get to know you all better. My name is Halima Twam. I am the Civic Engagement Advocacy Manager. Just before we get started, I just wanted to make a couple announcements. Next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the same location, we'll have our Clifton City Council candidate forum, and then on Thursday we'll have our Patterson Board of Education forum as well. So if anyone knows any Patterson residents, please let them know. I do think that this is one of the most important things that we can be doing is engaging on this level, getting to know our candidates before anyone gets elected, and being a part of the community in this way so that we can continue to grow our community and have our needs be met. So without further ado, I will introduce Mona Mustafa, who will be our moderator for the evening. She will explain the format of tonight's event. We also are live streaming for other people to join in who couldn't be here tonight. Mona Mustafa is an educator of social studies and Arabic language in Patterson, and she's also a parent of a Clifton student as well. And I'll let Mona take over from here.
Thank you so much, Halima. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, and thank you all for being here on a Thursday night. I'm going to start by explaining the format of tonight's event. Our candidates are seated in order of the way that their names appear on the ballot. And we're going to be starting with introductions, followed by 2 rounds of predetermined questions. We're going to have 10 questions to pick from in this basket at random. And we'll be going in the order that you're seated in. So I'll be handing the mic over, and then you'll just pass it down. Each candidate will answer the first randomly selected question, then we will restart, and each candidate will then answer their second question. You'll get a total of 2 questions. Then we will have a round where you can comment on each other's questions and have a little bit of reflection. After that, we'll have another round of questions from the audience, depending on how many questions we receive. And when you signed in, there were some index cards and pens available for you to write your questions if you had any. If you wrote a question, please be sure to give it to one of the staff members so that we can hand it over to the candidates when time allows. And we're only accepting a limited number of questions, and then after that, we'll end with our closing remarks. And I just wanted to say I'm very excited to hear and engage in this conversation with you all. Like Halima said, as a parent of a Clifton student and as an educator myself, and this is, the most important conversation. So we can begin with our 2-minute introductions. We'd like you to spend the first minute introducing yourself, and then the next minute letting the audience know why they should vote for you. So I'll hand the mic over to Alan.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting the event this evening. My name is Alan Paris. I am a lifelong resident of Clifton. I am the 4th of 6 generations in Clifton. I went through the Clifton school system, K through 12. I was a graduate class of 1977. My daughter lives in Clifton as well. Is also a graduate, K through 12 Clifton school systems. And currently my granddaughter is in elementary school here in Clifton as well. So the family does have a long history here, and we have a lot of experience, first-hand experience with our school system as well. I am currently finishing up my third year of my first term. I'm currently the board president. I am the Passaic County representative to the New Jersey School Board Association Board of Directors. I am active in the Clifton Community Band. I'm the founder of the band and currently the general manager of the band. I am the founder and past president and trustee of the Clifton Mustang Band Alumni Association. I spent most of my career in a company, 37 years, selling and teaching about scientific equipment, a scientific equipment manufacturer had a variety of jobs, including marketing, sales, distribution management, technical support. I'm a graduate of Montclair State University. I have my degree, my bachelor's in biology, and I have my minor in education, and I hold a New Jersey Teacher of Science teaching certificate. The second half of the question. What?
So
Are you still ready?
2 minutes, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Bring it back down.
No problem.
I'm Lucy Danny, I'm number 2 on the ballot. And first of all, I'd like to thank the PACC for hosting this forum. A little bit about myself, I'm a firstborn of Polish immigrants, parents who chose to live in Clifton to raise a family here and run a local business. I too chose this as my home. And my experience in the Clifton School District had begun when my daughter attended the district, and she had so many wonderful opportunities academically and also in sports. My experiences, I believe, give me a unique perspective and make me an asset to the board. 23 years as an educator. I have a doctorate and a master's in educational leadership and a master's in educational technology. I work as an adjunct for Syracuse University and clinical faculty for William Patterson University. And I'm a teacher leader in my district of employment. I worked with legislators to inform them of educational issues, 13 years on the Clifton BOE, and continuing education with the school boards to become a certified board leader. That's the highest one. I understand the educational process from start to finish, from the classroom to board decision making and legislative impact on the district. I'm an innovator championing education, as evidenced by the following things. I've had studied educational systems as a Fulbright scholar in Japan, India, and South Korea, just to name a few. I presented my findings to educational institutions. I won the Gracie Allen Award for an educational documentary that I produced that was utilized in institutions of higher learning for educational purposes. My proposal and adoption of a student representative to the Clifton BOE, and my publication on the New Jersey Education Evaluation System to help inform educators.
Hi, I'm Judith Bassford, I'm number 3 on the ballot. I lived in Jersey City most of my life. My parents raised me with 3 other siblings. I moved to Clifton 39 years ago. I made this my home. I chose to bring up 2 valuable assets in this district. My 35-year-old daughter and my 29-year-old son. Married to Keith for 44 years, my husband. We've been very involved in the community. I have a very long resume for community involvement. Most of you know me as the Vice President against Clifton Against Substance Abuse. But I started out getting involved in Clifton because I was raising my kids here. I chose Clifton because it was a good school system. And it also was centrally located to any kind of highway to get out with business. I owned my own business for a while. Now I work for a financial intermediary. I work for public partnership. We actually manage people's Medicaid benefits. A lot of people see me in the homes, and I go and check out those people every day. I currently sit as the immediate past president for Passaic County School Boards Association. I was Passaic County School Boards Association president for 4 years, vice president. I sit on the NJSBA Finance Committee, Ledge Committee of the 27th District. I work on their CAL Committee, and I also go to their Urban School District meetings as well. I had to write my list out. My certified board leader, my master board leader, my certified board member, and in 2019, I was honored one of the highest awards from New Jersey School Boards, School Board Member of the Year. And there's only 2 people in Clifton, Marie Hakem and myself, that were given that award. Why should you vote for me? Because I am the voice of the people. I'm not afraid to stand up for anything that people come to me with. I will make sure it gets heard, and I make sure you get resolution. Thank you.
Judy and I had the same thought when it came to standing. Good evening, everybody. My name is Elias Ragsdale. I'm number 4 on the ballot this November. and I'm running to be a commission on the Clifton Board of Education. I actually graduated from Clifton High School in 2024, this past June, and for the past 3 years, I've served as Clifton Student Union's president. This involved working with administration and board members on a numerous amount of issues, policy, academics, athletics, you name it, and we probably worked on it. In addition to this, I'm involved in the city in numerous other ways. I serve on the advisory committee on civil rights. I am a part of Clifton Against Substance Abuse. I'm a lifelong member of the Clifton Boys and Girls Club, also a dedicated volunteer there. And if there's an event in Clifton or something going on, 9 times out of 10, you'll see me there. I'm running for the Board of Education for a simple reason. I love Clifton. And a part of living Clifton is being determined to be a part of its future, a good, successful future. And I think that starts with the school system. The school system of today determines the Clifton of tomorrow. And the students that are in each and every seat in our 24 facilities across the district, that's Clifton's future. I'm a part of Clifton's future. So I want to work to keep our schools number one. I want to work to keep Clifton a good place to raise a family. And that really does start with the school system. Being so young, I want to bring new ideas, new voices, new initiatives to the Board of Education, to the way we do our school system. And that comes with innovative thinking, finding new ways to do things. Because I think at the Board of Education and across the street at City Hall, sometimes for far too long, we've done things maybe the wrong way. And it's always good to have new voices, new ideas, and really adjust to the modern city that we are, having not over 90,000 residents. I'm a product of Clifton Schools, started at School 5, and like I said, graduated at CHS. I served our students, spoke on behalf of them, served our citizens, still speak on behalf of them at every meeting, whether it be the Board of Education or the City Council, and I'm ready to take this step up to further my representation of this community that I love.
Since we're standing, hi, I'm Cameron Hebron. I'm number 5 on the ballot. Day job, I work in healthcare, mainly patient scheduling, education about cardiology services. I have a bachelor's in public health from Xavier University of New Orleans. I am also a Clifton High School graduate, class of 2015, so I'm a product of the Clifton school systems as well. On top of that, I do fashion, marketing, and media, as well as arts and culture media for my friend's fashion magazine, Issued Magazine. I am on the Civil Rights Committee, Clifton Against Substance Abuse, and as far as projects coming up for that, we have a wonderful health fair, as well as our social media that launched, Advisory Committee on Civil Rights, for those of y'all watching on Facebook. Clifton Advisory Committee on Civil Rights. So, like I said, I'm number 5 on the ballot. My platform is advocacy, accessibility, and accountability. This comes from my public health background, mainly because people need a voice. People speak, but a lot of the times the people in power won't listen to them. And being able to elevate the voices of the community, being able to elevate the concerns of the community is important to me. That's why I'm so active in the town as it stands. I've seen this district as a product of the Clifton High School system, as well as other districts, and quite frankly, there's a crisis in education that won't be solved by upholding the status quo. Every candidate here has an impressive record, and I know one way or another, our schools are going to be in good hands. I think you guys should vote for me because I will be active in the town one way or another. I'm involved, and this is just an extension of my ability to serve Clifton. We talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, but a lot of the times we don't have a seat at the table. Yeah, that's done.
Thank you all so much for those thorough introductions. And now we're going to begin our 2 rounds of predetermined questions. You'll each have 90 seconds to answer the 2 rounds. And if you'd like help keeping time, we have our PACC member, Sada, holding up the time for you. We have 10 questions to pick from this basket. And we're going to go in order, in backwards order this time. So Cameron will go first and pass the mic down. And each candidate will answer the first randomly selected question, then we'll restart and you'll get the second randomly selected question. And so you'll each get a total of 2 during this round. Okay, so now I will go through the basket. Let's see. All right. In which ways will you work to update the curriculum to meet the world as it is today?
Okay, so when I was getting my bachelor's in public health, I also got a concentration in bioethics as well as psychology. Part of my internship was working on hospital curriculums for teaching hospitals, specifically to find an ethical and financial reason to put forward diversity, equity, inclusion practices. Quite frankly, all of our school systems are behind on a lot of these policies, and the Board of Ed right now has done an amazing job at updating the school systems as it is. We don't have the budget as of right now to handle some of these bigger issues. A lot of people are apathetic. It's impressive that so many people are here to be engaged in the community and show that they care about the school systems. At the end of the day, to meet these challenges, we're going to need to have difficult conversations in respectful ways. I've seen the work PACC's done over the past year to talk about some of these challenging issues that may not be community-centric, but affect the communities that live here. Clifton is a microcosm of the rest of the US, so we just need to start being the example that we like to pretend we are. That's kind of
You get a new question. And then in the 90-second reflection, you can respond to whatever question that came up.
Okay. What do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
Sure, so one of my professors recently said actually, the goal of education is to prepare students for the jobs that don't even exist yet, for the world that we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. But if we have well-educated students in a well-educated society, then everything will be okay. And like I said, I'm dedicated to the future of Clifton, and that starts with having good school systems. The Board of Education is in its mission statement. We need to provide good, democratic students that will continue to be good members of society. I really do think it's that simple. I think especially in the current moment, we have a lot of STEM programs. We can introduce trades and industrial arts. That's one thing I am passionate about, because the plumber and the carpenter is just as important as the lawyer and the doctor. And if we can put a re-emphasis on that, then I think that will be good in the future. I think the Board of Education does a good job as it is, honestly. I'm a recent product of Clifton Schools. I'm happy about my experience there, but there's always room for improvement. And education is that lifelong mission and an ever-changing system.
What differentiates you from the other candidates and or other board members?
What differentiates me from other members of the board? I like to look at the board members and every one of us as unique parts to a machine. Just like you have 4 wheels on a car, you have a steering wheel, you have a gas tank, you have a key that goes in it. Without all those components, you don't run. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I don't think that I can do things better than everyone because I learn from my colleagues. But what makes me different is I don't have a college degree. I grew up with a learning disability, didn't know what it was. When my son was growing up, my daughter is general education, my son is special education. I found out that I had a learning disability from my son. So what differentiates me is that when I have to learn something and I have to investigate or look into the information that we get, I have to study and look into it twice as hard or 3 times as hard than somebody else does. I have to read it maybe 4 times over and over again. I put a lot of time in. I also do my homework. I'm on the phone with people from school boards all the time. I go down to school boards a lot, at least once a quarter during the year. I go to my friends in the county and I do my homework. What I feel that I do differently is I'm out in the community a lot and I listen to the people. I'm on the phone with the superintendent when I hear something's going on. I'll send them an email or a text message. I feel like I'm the voice of the people, and especially the special needs world. That's what differentiates me, because I know the struggle that they've been through. Because I've lived it, and it's not easy. Thank you.
Clifton prides itself as a town of diversity. How will you promote and protect the safety and well-being of all of our students, including Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students?
Well, first of all, I am an educator, and I do know a little bit that there are state standards And those state standards go into the curriculum, and one of them is diversity, inclusion, equity. So that is mandated into the curriculum. And in terms of, as a board member in education committee, we will look at the curriculum, make sure we approve that, and we make sure that, everything is okay. And so as a role as a board member, that is what we're doing, but it is state mandated. And so in terms of, as a board member, we're doing the oversight to make sure that it is there, but it is actually the teachers who are putting that into the curriculum. They're doing the curriculum work and making sure that every subject is touching upon that in some way, the diversity, the inclusion. Thank you.
Can you hear me on this? Is this good? What issues do you believe Clifton needs to address in its academic programs and offerings, and what changes would you recommend?
There's a number of challenges that Clifton has to face today. One is we have a steadily increasing population of English second language learners. In fact, over the past 3 years, that population has more than doubled in our school system. In addition, in the areas of special education, we've had not as large an increase in numbers as in the multi-language learners, but we've had a large increase in special education students that require self-contained classrooms. These are smaller classrooms, more one-on-one. They're more demanding of resources. And that's been about a 35% increase in the past 3 years. So those two areas alone are challenges that we need to make sure we can meet with resources, as well as the supplemental support. A third area that is critical right now is learning loss. Learning losses from the pandemic have, according to test results, have not brought us back to pre-pandemic levels. There were programs in place during the pandemic and shortly thereafter that were government funded. Those programs have run out this year. These are ancillary programs for tutoring and assistance to help get kids caught up. The board has, in its wisdom, decided to continue those programs and invest in those programs. So those are really the three biggest areas that are challenges for us today in the near future.
Thank you so much, and you will have your second question, Mr. Harris. Okay. What do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
The primary work of the Board of Education is not a personal vision of mine or any board members. It's well established. There's two main areas. One is planning, the other is policy. The Board of Education's responsibility is not to run the schools, but rather see that the schools are well run. So it's really that high altitude view of what's going on. It's a check and balance. We set policy, administration implements the policy. This is the single most important part of the Board of Education. What it requires is teamwork. It requires a deep understanding, which administration helps give us, of requirements and regulations required by the state, and it requires a team of people to come together, find the best way to implement that, and support that. So we're primarily an oversight and a support role.
How would you determine your budget priorities?
Well, I think putting a budget together, you have to always make sure that you take a look at the student needs. It's really a delicate balance, and then managing the costs, thinking about the taxpayer. But ultimately, you really do have to look at if you want the school system to be good, because obviously students doing well, that helps to improve the community. So you want to make sure that you are taking a look at the needs of the students, the priorities, the requirements of the programs that are in place. What do they need? Certain programs require that there are a certain number of students. There might be other programs that will require 2 teachers within a classroom. So it's really important, again, that the core educational courses, that those are in place, and that any needs that are needed for that, such as teachers, right now also with the learning loss, we do need the tutoring programs because that will help the students. Also, the healthcare, we want to make sure we have school psychologists, school counselors. So anything that really is a pressing issue, you want to make sure that you are addressing those needs and that it's always about the student. I mean, that's really what education is about. So that should be the top priority, and that's what dictates. And then, of course, trying to do cost-saving measures.
Thank you so much. Okay, next question. What is your vision for education in Clifton?
My vision for education in Clifton, if I had the magic wand and all the money in the world, that everyone would have a really superb education. The law states that we're thorough and efficient. That's what we have to give. But my vision is to make sure that the ESL students are connecting with their parents. This year, we put an initiative together, thanks to the board that vote on this, to have a little program over at one of our schools. And it was a push because I am a firm believer of getting the community back into the school, right? We don't have the adult evening school anymore. That's one of my visions, to bring it back. That's how I met everybody in Clifton. I've taken everything from automotive to guitar to crafts to playing golf. And I connected with my dad because my dad played golf, learned how to play golf. So we started with the small program with the ESL students. And what happened was we brought the parents in this summer. And the parents came in and some of them really blossomed. Somebody got their driver's license from it. Somebody was able to get their citizenship papers. My vision is to expand that program and blow it out to encompass the whole community. Because we need the parents back in the building. Because when you have parental connection to your student, you have student success. Bottom line, it's what they get from the home and they connect. And then we can get our students to achieve better, and then everything just works better for everyone all around. That is my vision, is to bring the community back into the school at night for adult evening school, and also to expand the ESL program. English is a second language.
Thank you so much. And next question. What is your plan to keep our students and faculty safe from the very real and ongoing threat of gun violence?
So first of all, like I said, I graduated in June. And I started high school in 2020. Even just during my experience there, at the beginning of it, there were no security guards. By the end of it, there were security guards. With the most recent referendum that were passed, there are now security vestibules in each of our schools. That's something the Board of Education has taken action on. But I think it also continues, I think that the board does a really good job actually when it comes to security. Me personally, I've always felt safe in our schools. I commend the board on their work with the security guards. I think they're fantastic people, and they do their job. And like I said, it makes students feel safe. Safety is, the number one kind of need I think you need to satisfy, because if students don't feel safe, then they're not going to learn. Like I said, though, as a recent student, I think Clifton does a good job at this. The students that were my friends, they all feel safe, and we always take precautions. The board does a good job with this, the district does a good job with it. And it's something that should always be the main priority.
Okay. And Clifton prides itself as a town of diversity. How will you promote and protect the safety and well-being of all of our students, including Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students?
This is actually something I wanted to get into in my rebuttal, but as far as our students who are first generation in this country or may not speak English as a first language, we have to start seeing that as the asset that it is and not alienate them from the rest of the community. We tend to have this idea of this is America, speak English, especially those of us who are older. And quite frankly, I wish I spoke more Spanish growing up because I would be able to understand some of my relatives. Beyond that, it comes down to education. Did you know that putting in kosher meals would also benefit the Muslim community because you would have access to halal meals by proxy. On top of that, making sure that we build community forums, we empower local PTA groups, and we also get into the habit of communicating better. Clifton doesn't have a very good social media track record, and we tend to be a little disorganized when it comes to getting the word out, but there's resources in the community. The schools don't have to take the burden of care away from the state. We could easily, and I'm sure the board's already doing this, people could be redirected to these resources a little better. We could work on communicating with our communities better and giving them that voice and seat at the table.
Thank you so much. Yes, so now, before we start our reflection round, where you guys will get a chance to comment on each other's answers, I'd just like to ask if anybody wrote a question from the audience, so we can collect your index cards and use them for our next 2 rounds after the reflection. So any index cards from the audience?
I'm writing one.
Oh, okay. All right. So for this round, you'll have 90 seconds to answer any questions that you did not have a chance to comment on before. And we're going to start with Karen. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to respond to the question about what my vision is for the Board of Ed. As a current member of the Civil Rights Committee, I'm trying to build out that infrastructure, especially that public health infrastructure that's been lacking in America for the last 30 years. It starts with resource distribution. And like Commissioner Paris said, the school boards vote on budgets and policies. We need to start thinking about policies that distribute resources to disadvantaged people, marginalized people, and take away that burden of care from the state. We can't keep putting it on the taxpayer. We can't keep putting it on the parent to understand how to navigate these systems. We have to start with, we have to start leveraging business and language courses as well. We have a lot of students who may want to go into arts, may want to pursue a trade, and giving them the business classes and financial literacy classes to help with that would propel their careers. Quite frankly, I feel like I rushed into college without knowing what I was getting myself into. I took my time getting my bachelor's, and I'm using it by speaking publicly and trying to change policies. But we have to start leveraging these tools that exist in our communities.
Do I ask you for the question?
This is just your comment.
Your reflection,
Okay.
anything that you didn't get to mention.
Well, I'll answer the question I didn't get about how to determine a budget. So I think there's 4 prongs when you get to it. And this is something I'm big on. Like I said, I used to serve as a student union president. So receiving community in general and student input, I think, is very important when making a budget. Specifically students, teachers, the general community, taxpayers, and then, of course, seeing what the state and federal budget and funding provides. Once you have the amount you can actually spend, that's when you talk to the community, that's when you talk to the students, that's when you talk to the parents. And like I said, especially the taxpayers, one thing I am going to be big on, if on the Board of Education, is fiscal responsibility. I'd like us to be more, take more initiative, be more creative with the way we spend money, really to save the taxpayer money, and also to do things better. I think our teachers would like it a lot better, our students would like it a lot better, because they know what works best in the classroom. Like I said, I'm a product of the school system. I was just a part of the system. So who better to make the decisions than someone who really experienced it? Some of the policies and regulations and programs and initiatives the board recently put forth, I literally have been a part of. So having that first-hand experience, having that unique experience is something valuable that I believe I can bring to the board.
I want to talk about communication, and I want to talk about security. Communication, I just started in 2011. When I started in this district, communication wasn't even there for board members ourselves. Lucy's on us just as long as I. We ran together years ago, 2011. We never knew what was going on in our district. We were never informed. We would go to the local store, we'd be online, somebody would come up to us and say, did you hear what happened? Lucy and I sat on the committee to hire the new superintendent, Dr. Robitazi. That was one of the hardest decisions that we had to make through our tenure as board members. And I think we did a really good decision. One of the things that he did with each of us, he sat with each of us and said, what do you see as the problem? I came with a 3-page list. I said, these are my thoughts, look at them, let me know. A couple weeks later, I got a phone call from him, and he said everything on that list, I was spot on. One of the things was about communication. We have increased our communication in the district. Our website, our communications director is impeccable. Security, although I can't tell you everything that we do, the security in each one of our schools has been one of the greatest things that we have ever put in. The reception from our student body is tremendous, especially in the grammar schools. They feel they're comfortable, able to walk to the community, the security officer, and say there's a problem. I was very thrilled and able to implement that in the district. But our communications is outstanding. Trust me, I sit on other committees throughout the state. They do not have communication that even stands close to what we have.
So I'd like to address the one on the vision for education. And that's one of the issues actually that Clifton, is facing, will be, I think, facing even more, is in regard to the teacher shortage. And so I've been a big advocate in talking to legislators in things that they can do in regard to trying to improve the climate and culture in regard to teaching, to try to get more educators in. Because one of the issues in Clifton is there was an algebra course that we had to actually use a company that does virtual learning for students, and that's not exactly really good. So I do know that Clifton does have a homegrown teacher program, but just currently TCNJ, which is the college that was working with Clifton, they no longer hold the program, and so I am trying to find ways, because in my district, I am looking to implement this program. So I actually want to find a university that I can tell Ms. Kusalevich, who is the assistant superintendent, and let her know so we can grow our teachers, and then those teachers can work in Clifton, because all this is great, but if we don't have teachers and students are doing it virtually, it's just not a really good setting. I taught virtually in the pandemic, and you don't know how many fans I saw. I think I know every single fan out there. They were angled towards the fans.
I'd like to make some more comments on, since security was raised. Because there are two things that are intertwined in this topic. It's security, and it's also developing a culture of safety, a culture of acceptance. And we have a program called, abbreviation is PBSIS. It's short for positive behavior in schools. It's a program that's been nationally recognized as far as Clifton goes, as us being a leader. Security-wise, you can harden the school. You can create a security vestibule. You can have armed guards outside. That doesn't change the culture inside the school, which often breeds some of the security issues. PBSIS helps our students to creates a culture within the school of acceptance, of respect, and also they're the best early warning systems we have. Most problems in schools start internally. And if you have a good relationship with the student body, you have a good rapport, and our security people do, that goes immensely in a positive direction versus things like having a guy outside with a gun. So not only does it address security from the baseline, from the community, it also helps culturally with the student body, and that's all I got for time. Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much for your reflections and your comments. This round is going to be 2 rounds of questions from the audience. So same format, you'll have 90 seconds to answer 2 rounds of questions. We collected a few questions from the audience that I'll choose at random. And we may add a third round depending on how timing goes, okay? So, we will begin with Mr. Alan Harris again, and I will choose the question. This question asks, how do you plan to ensure the safety and well-being of Muslim students from hate speech and discrimination? How would you advocate for these policies?
Well, kind of a perfect lead-in from what I just finished saying. It's all about creating a welcoming, safe culture within the school. And that starts from the bottom up with the students. I know firsthand, I walk my granddaughter every morning to school and back from school. And I see the interaction of the children when they're lined up before they go into the building. I know this program we have is working. I can see in her behavior when she comes home. Part of the system is a reward system where you're not only, what most systems are punishment systems. You did something wrong, so there's a punishment dealt out. This is a positive reinforcement system, PPSIS. My granddaughter comes home and she talks about, oh, this is what I did today. Or this classmate was kind to another classmate, did this. And this is a kindergartner. So the cultural change from the bottom up in our student body and across the organization, I think is really what's going to, it's really going to change. And on top of the security systems we have currently, this will create a much more welcoming culture and a much more welcoming environment for our students.
This one is a little longer. Okay, it says, I witnessed a gang of students jump one student in the strip mall on Van Houten Ave across from the middle school. And because there was no police presence or teacher or administrator involvement, I got involved to protect that one student. What would each candidate do to minimize or eliminate this from happening?
So I think that the school can actually do a lot. I think what's important is to hold assemblies. I know that when students attend an assembly, and it could be on something about bullying or fighting, and they have guest speakers that could come in. And for example, I know like in my district, we will have where students will do like little mock fights and then in an assembly, and then someone will come in and mediate and talk about like how it's not a good idea. They'll have a guest speaker, somebody who actually maybe was involved in a fight and how it, took a different course or change in their life and how it impacted them negatively. So, seeing somebody come in, and usually these speakers are very dynamic and they are able to talk with students and connect with students in a way that maybe teachers can't, that maybe the administration can't, and they tell them a story. Everybody loves a good story. And they'll tell them some good story about something that they did in terms of maybe a fight and how it led them down a terrible path. And I think that's something that we can do. Of course, teachers can do things in the classroom individually to address issues on bullying and fighting and, but again, we can also do assemblies.
Thank you so much. Okay, next question. How will you address the paraprofessional retention problem and support special education staff and programs? Along with how will you encourage the retention of teachers?
Retention of teachers. First of all, there's a teacher shortage, as Lucy alluded to before, but the retention for paraprofessionals, first of all, my passion is about special education. We have to be able to, I can't speak for the board, these are my personal views and opinions. We have to bring up the salary for the paraprofessionals, and that's a conversation that the personnel committee is gonna have to have with the finance committee, and then with the whole entire board. We have to be able to give them the amount of money that they need to make a living, a decent living, okay? And they need to be able to be respected. We give plenty of professional development, we have a lot of that going on in our district. We have a lot of good quality people, but we're losing people to other districts that are paying more money. And we took a lot of heat this year for putting 4% on the budget, but we had to, because we saw as a board that the quality of the education, if we want to continue it for next year, we had to increase the budget. So my goal is to increase their pay, give them the professional development they need, give them the respect and the dignity that they deserve as paraprofessionals. Because those teachers, I call them teachers because they are the frontliners without special needs student. I see some people nodding because people know that. Thank you.
All right, how do you view instances where student expression has been censored? Can you provide examples of how you would handle similar situations?
Well, I think it comes down to the core that everyone has their civil rights, including the right to express your beliefs and who you are. When I was president of Clifton Student Union, one of the issues that we took up and were successful with is the issue of homework during religious holidays. Because during the mainstream holidays, there wouldn't be homework given. But when you had more of the Muslim holidays or the Jewish holidays where students had off, homework was still being given. And I believe that those holidays are a time that you spend with family. Those are a time where you reflect on your religion or whatever the importance is to you. And that was something we successfully got done. So as a member of the student union, as its president, I did a lot of work with the Board of Education on these kinds of issues. So I've been there, I've experienced it, and like I said, the simple of it is that everyone has their civil rights and deserves to be able to express themselves freely and practice their religion freely as well, equally, no matter what religion you're a part of.
Would you support the implementation of guidelines to support teachers who have Palestinian students? This is already something being discussed, being developed. So implementing guidelines to support teachers who have Palestinian students.
Oh, so if I'm understanding the question correctly, then this goes with the diversity, equity, inclusion of it all, and just making sure that teachers are prepared to have these conversations in the classroom. A big part of that comes to sensitivity training, quite frankly, being able to teach teachers how to discuss these things appropriately at an age-appropriate level, and to be able to communicate not only with the student, but with the parents and that student's entire environment, what the core of the issue is. There's been some tumultuous times lately, but as PACC's done, there's opportunities for community growth and to have these forums and to have these dialogues, especially with the parents. If you empower PTA organizations and meet parents where they're at to have these discussions, you're better able to attack the issue before it starts. Even prior to this new awareness of the Palestinian community's issues, there's quite frankly been a huge history of racism in America, largely. Being able to stand your ground and communicate where things cross the line is the first step in that, and being able to tell your teachers, hey, you may not agree with this, you may disagree with this, but we got to do better. We got to foster growth and not hate.
Okay, it looks like we do have time for another round of questions. So if it's okay with you guys, we'll give the mic back to Mr. Harris. Thank you so much. What is your stance on students' rights to protest issues that concern them? How do you believe schools should support these rights?
Well, I think the rights for students for protest are the same rights as any other American has. This country has the freedom to peacefully protest. I believe there have been some fairly recently, and in fact, I believe our principal of the high school really helped coordinate the event, and I believe it was successfully done in a very safe manner. I don't see blockages that exist today to doing that. Everyone has the right to peacefully protest in this country, and so far from what I've seen, certainly at our high school level, our administration is very cooperative in enabling that to happen.
Thank you so much. How do you hope to increase awareness and resources for student mental health?
So I think that that was one thing in the budget that we did actually make sure we had counselors. I mean, that is why the 4% is we wanted to make sure there were more counselors, more social workers. You know, we need this, especially coming off of COVID. So many of the students are, I don't know what it is because I'm not in the medical field, but as a teacher, I do notice that there are students that are struggling with anxiety, an extreme amount of anxiety, and it is important that, you know, they have somewhere within the school to go to, like a school psychologist, and there are like Care One where they're in the school and the student can actually go see the psychologist right there in the school. And it's important because if you think about it, if something is stressing you or bothering you, you yourself have a difficult time concentrating. And you know, these children yet, they're not regulated. They don't know how to, you know, deal with stress or handle things. So for them, you know, to have somebody to go to and talk about, you know, how this is affecting them and what strategies they can employ, I think it's very, very important. So it's important that we had hired these individuals in the Clifton School District.
Questions might be repeated. Oh, okay. This is the mental health question again. How do you hope to increase awareness and resources for students?
Well, anytime you have to increase something, it costs money. Conversation needs to start in the committee level with the fellow board members. Clifton does a great job at the high school with our student liaison group. We have students come in that meet with administration and board members. They tell us what's going on. We find out what's going on, and then we bring it back to the board and we discuss. And we try to do things like that. We have a lot of community partners with mental health. But we have to be more open with our students. And we have to bring more services to our students, and that costs money. So if we come to you people as the taxpayers and say, we are having issues with mental health and we need more money, you can't yell at us and say, we can't give you more money. We all saw the effects of COVID, being locked up in our homes, what it caused everyone. We need to come to you and say, we have issues, we need your help, we need to get this implemented. So, but we also need to look for grants. We need to look for community liaisons and community organizations that can offer us that free assistance to increase the mental awareness and also the mental health programs that we have in the school. I have to tell you, the 13 years that I'm on the board, the culture of our district and our staff reflects the community. It's not where it needs to be, but it's getting there. So, sorry. Last 90 seconds.
Thank you so much. And this question looks a little longer. Freedom of speech was discussed and candidates seemed to agree to this right. Yet 2 prior board members were criticized and chastised for expressing their personal views on a very important and personal global issue, exercising free speech. Would you support and defend this right for all, regardless of how popular or not that view is?
Would I support the right of free speech? Absolutely. I can speak as to whoever you're referencing, what they did or what they didn't, and even for a board member, the rules of ethics and the rules of what you can say versus what you can't say, where you are, who you're with, it gets very complicated. But to answer your question, of course, I will absolutely support the First Amendment, no matter what's being said or who's saying it.
And this is the last question for our audience round before your closing remarks. Okay. How will you address the paraprofessional retention problem and support special education and staff programs? Also, how will you encourage the retention of teachers?
This gets into a lot of the funding issues people have brought up, and also the free speech thing. I am of the opinion that we throw money at the defense budget or the policing budget, but we don't throw money at our educators. We don't fund our roads, our buildings. America's infrastructure is quite frankly crumbling. I think in order to better serve our schools, we're going to need to see a lot of our legislators do better about funding our schools. We've been talking about the budget cuts to education, cutting arts and trades programs and sports programs for decades now, as long as I've been alive. So quite frankly, to see paraprofessionals not be in the schools, it's appalling. My baby cousin is on the spectrum. He has trouble speaking. He goes to school 8. A lot of the work that the board's done so far it's made him more communicative, more expressive. My family on my dad's side understands autism a little better now, but there's still challenges when it comes to educating families, getting them to understand this is something that will help your kid, but not everyone's approaching this issue from the same place. And quite frankly, our legislators aren't approaching the funding issue from the same place as the average person. It can't keep coming out of taxpayer pockets.
Thank you all so much for your thorough answers. And now we're going to pass the mic down one last time for our 2-minute closing remarks. Feel free to remark on any questions that come up that you did not get a chance to answer. And make sure to give the audience your final message.
Thank you. I'm going to take my 2 minutes really to discuss what I believe is the most important aspects of a decision that you're going to make as who should be on your school board. A school board is not an individual sport. It's a team sport. And the more variety, the more talents you can put on that board that can be shared, the better that board will function. I know a lot of these candidate forums and questions we get, they really come to topics where an individual, yes, can have an impact in the sense that they can bring up the topics, they can support positions. But ultimately, you need a team of people that share that same vision, that same goal. One of the most important skill sets you have is not something you get from a school. It's simply the ability to really listen and be willing to listen to other viewpoints, to other positions, to gather data, to help make decisions. You don't need to have all the knowledge. No one has all the knowledge. The old saying, you don't know what you don't know, definitely applies to a school board member. Commissioner finds out very quickly how little they know. In fact, it's really the only government entity I know that has a structured training program, a mandatory training program, because you're not going to come with the skill set and all the tools you need to be a successful board member. So my statement, which I should have made at the beginning, was, why would you select me? I have a lot of this tool set. There's a lot to learn still, but I believe I possess that teammate mentality. I believe I possess the ability to listen to the community, to my fellow board members, and to implement the best actions for our students.
So I think why vote for me? One is that I am a team player. I've been, president, vice president on the board, But I think that it's important, I'm not a power hungry person, I think it's important that individuals get an opportunity, different individuals, to be president, to be vice president. If I'm chosen, I'm chosen, but I definitely like others to experience it, because then when you're in that position of leadership, you really understand a lot more other things. So I am a team member, I'm an educator, so I understand, and I don't know everything, but it's very interesting from now being on the board side and being in the classroom, and now in my new leadership role in my school, I really have a full, come full circle to really understand what it requires for students to make it in the 21st century, what it looks like in regard to the issues that we're talking about with acceptance of different individuals. And I always offer up my knowledge as an educator to the district, my firsthand knowledge, my experiences. That's what I bring, because education is what I've been doing for 23 years. And so the other thing is, being on this board for 13 years, it's a very unique thing, because I know some of the mistakes we've made in the past, and we have made some mistakes. And in that way, I can be an input, a source for letting the board know, what, that really might not work, or what, it didn't work this way, but maybe it could work this way. So I am an out-of-the-box thinker, I'm very creative, as you've seen, as I've stated, I'm an innovator. I like to think out of the box. I don't want to burden the taxpayers. I think that we have to really buckle down. I know Ms. Bassford has said that many times, you buckle down and think out of the box. So I hope you vote number 2 on the ballot. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Judy. I stood up in a mic, I tapped on it. Is this thing on? The first time I spoke at a Board of Education meeting, I was shaking like a leaf, because I heard a resolution being talked about giving special education students the funding that they needed to be successful. I ran down to the building, school 6, in my pajamas with a raincoat on, and I got up and spoke that the nurturing of that brain was the most important factor on that budget resolution. The body may not be working, but the brain was. And I chastised the person that was making the comments, because he had a child or children that were general education students. The next day I went down to the Board of Education and I filed my petition to run. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I've been called the idiot on the board, no college education. I worked really hard to school boards. I got every certifications that I could. I can read IEPs. I deal with the special needs community. I listen to the community. People come to me, I'm approachable. People drop things in my lap. I don't know why. It's a burden, it's a curse, but it's also a gift, because I get to be your voice on the board level. I come open-handed. I'm not the smartest person in the box. I never claim to be the smartest person in the box. I'm the most approachable person in the box. I always say, wait a minute, how is this going to affect everyone in the room? When we make a decision, we have to look at the students, the staff, and the taxpayers. All 3 of you. Everyone in this room has been a student once, maybe a staff member, or a taxpayer, or a resident of this community. I have to do that with my heart open every day. I go to those meetings, I prepare, I read the whole agenda back and forth, and make sure that I know what I'm voting on. I come prepared. Thank you. Number 3.
First of all, once again, thank you to PACC for having this forum and for the rest of the work you do in this community. Once again, I'm going to keep it to the point. I love Clifton. And I'm worried about the future of the city. And like I said, I think that starts with the education system. Win or lose, I'll continue to fight for Clifton's future, whether it be at the Boys and Girls Club or even just at the board meetings. I will be there. I was inspired as a student to run for this position. I was inspired because I learned that I have a passion for advocacy, and I think that I can bring valuable experience to this Board of Education. 2 of the people on this panel mentioned 2 of the programs, the PBSIS and the liaisons. I was a part of both of those programs. Who better to make a decision about a system than someone who's been in the system themselves? For the past 3 years, I've been advocating for students and citizens alike, and frankly, those issues intertwine a lot because the students are the future. I want to bring new ideas to the Board of Education. I want to bring a new vision to the Board of Education because I think it's time that we do things a little bit differently. I want to remind everyone lastly too, that you have 3 votes this November for the Board of Education. Unlike any other office that you'll be voting for, you get to pick 3 of us. And the top 3 will be the winners. Once again, my name is Elias Ragsdale. I'm number 4 on the ballot. And help me make a difference in this town.
Hi, I'm Cameron Hebron, number 5 on the ballot. First things first, I want to go back and correct something I said in regards to communication. When I was referring to that, I wanted to refer to social media, and especially using tech and a lot of these tools that we have now. Quite frankly, AI is here to stay. It's better to get ahead of it than fall behind it, and we could be leveraging this as a tool that helps students learn, especially remote learning. Sometimes students may need after-school classes but not have the means to get there. There's ways to leverage these tools, but it's challenging for both families, faculty, educators alike. I want to remind you guys that I'm already serving the community, Clifton Advisory Board of Civil Rights. Follow us on Facebook. I just want to expand my capacity to serve this city. I approach this from a public health background, and I'm experienced in critiquing policies, especially public health policies. At the end of the day, according to the socio-ecological model of health, the health for an individual involves their whole community, the closest people around them, the facilities they're in, their jobs, their schools, what legislators are in office. We have to start fostering this culture of respect, leveraging the tools that we have and advocating for more tools. Like something was mentioned, gun control, quite frankly, it falling on the school to decide what happens with it, with safety, is offensive. We should be demanding more of the people in charge, and I'm ready to put my best foot forward. Once again, follow the Clifton Advisory's Civil Rights Committee on Facebook. We're just starting out. We'd love to hear how people observe cultural observances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you all so much. I just want to thank you again for your thorough answers and for being in community with us today. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at our next event. So thank you very much.
Before you all head out, if you could please take your chairs and put them in the back. Also, tomorrow night, here at the center between 4 and 8 p.m. is our community healing event. We'll have a resource fair. There's going to be a bonfire. And I encourage you all to join us at this event and let others know. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of the candidates for speaking tonight. Thank you all.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.